Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to All Things Division 3 Soccer with Simple Coach and Jackie. I am Simple Coach. Jackie's wandering. It's the morning pacing that she does these days. So letting her stretch her legs before she goes into deep sleep in the afternoon. So she says hello though. Hey, thanks for tuning in to this episode where I'm about to unveil week 1 of the top 25 women's teams in the United States Division 3. I did a preseason poll based on my obscure methodology, and so now I have the first week based on games that had been played through Sunday. I think that was the 9th, 8th, maybe. So if they played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or today, I don't account for that. I'll deal with that next week. It's taking a little bit longer to do. It's just been lots of things going on in the Simple Coach household that I'm trying to manage, including flat tires and, trying to find an iPhone that was lost somehow by one of the Simple players. So, yeah, that sort of thing. Anyhow, for those of you watching the first time around these rankings, there's on the men's side, I do the same and I approach it the same way with the women. I like to talk a little bit about my methodology because it's very proprietary and highly algorithmic, shall I say. So there's generally 3 sort of things that I say about my poll. So the first one, in order to make the top 25, I had to have watched the team. So of the 25 teams that are currently on there, I've watched them. At least a half. Like that is sort of the minimum requirement that I have. Because again, I'm trying to do something a little bit different, right? You have your Massey rankings, which is literally a formula. His proprietary, all that stuff, I get it. And it ranks teams based on wins, losses, strength of schedule, all these different parameters. And so yeah, that's sort of how you get that ranking. You have the United Soccer Coaches, which is just sort of like this amalgamated of regional rankings. And so, like, for the first while, like, it's just not, I'll just say, it doesn't do anything for me because, not to say they're not good, but it just adds teams to the ranking that I don't necessarily think have shown in the past and are currently showing that they have the mettle and the staying power. So, decided to do something on my own. So again, mine's a little bit of a lot of different things. So yes, records do matter, but performance and how they look and over time, and like I say, the totality of the work are sort of the things I look at. The second thing I will say, because everyone or a lot of people seem to think it's just about who I like and who I don't like. That's not necessarily true. I do look at how a team is efficient. So, can a team score and win and do the things they do in the style they play, whether I like it or not? And there are plenty of teams that I shrug my shoulders and like I don't like how they play, but they're efficient. So I can't take that away from them. And so I try to recognize that. And then lastly, I'll just say, yes, there is a component of the soccer I like, right? Like, do I like it? Do I not like it? And ultimately, there's a reason for that because generally, just as a coach, like I have my theories about the game. And so if I see a team that is playing more my style, I think that has longer legs in a way that I don't like, which, it's generally the run, gun, route one type of approach. So keep that in mind as I'm going through the top 25s. It's not, if I excluded anybody, I might have a reason. If you think I should add somebody, by all means down below, comment. It could be a team I didn't watch, and I should, and that's fine. I try to watch a lot of games, and it's just hard to cover everybody. So with that, let us begin with number 25. And this is one of those where at 0-2, they go to the West Coast and they get 1-0-2. They go to the West Coast, have 2 ties, and then they end up beating Husan at number 25, NYU. I think this is a good team. It's a good program historically, and again, early season, I call it rust and dust. Like they're just working through things, and so I'm a little bit more okay with the fact that they're 1-0-2. Another team, and I really like them, and there are moments where I'm like, oh, okay, same. At 1-1-2, number 24, Pacific Lutheran. Like I said, I like this team. I thought they played great against Johns Hopkins. I thought they did well against McDaniel. I think McDaniel is a very interesting team. And then they tied Claremont Mudd Scripps and Case, and I think this team does have a lot of upside and could be the California team, right? Because I think Cal Lutheran is struggling to sort of maintain where it was last year and as the defending national champion, and I think there's somebody out of the West that's going to come out, or a couple teams that are coming, and I think they're one of them. At 23, 1-1-1, the Eves of Williams. They had very good win against Tufts, and I will say defensively, I think that they're a tough nut to crack. Like they're going to be hard to break down. Number 22, a team that I've liked historically, and again, I think they're on their way under a new coach. 2-0-1, Case Western Reserve Spartans. It just so happens I'm wearing the hat. They beat Kenyon and Puget Sound to start the season, so I do think this is a team we're gonna be hearing about. At 21, I mentioned them already. 2-0-1. Another new coach, solid start, McDaniel. Although I will say today is Wednesday the 11th. And I do think today is they traveled to Grantham, PA to play in the shoe against Messiah. And I think that is going to be a very real test for them to see if they have the mettle. If it's close and it's competitive, I think that's going to matter. If Messiah runs away with it, then I think that's a whole other discussion we're going to have. At number 20, at 4-0, the Cardinals of Otterbein. They have 4 wins, 2 against top 100 teams, and they've only conceded 2 goals. Now, again, this week is going to be very telling because I think it's today as well, or is it next week? They face Case Western Reserve. So that's going to be quite the clash to sort of see which of those teams, number 22 Case or 20 Otterbein, who has a little bit more game going on. Continue on, NESCAC, number 19 at 2-0. Middlebury had solid starts with victories against Clark and Hamilton. Again, a big week of games, Trinity and MIT. So I think we need to just be aware of that. I think that's next week. At 18, 2-1. They fell to TC&J 1-0 in what I thought was a relatively tight match, and I'm becoming a fan of TC&J. And then they had 2 good wins, including against William Smith, who I'm a fan of. I do think they run in the gauntlet in the next couple of weeks of a few more out of conference games. So we'll be tracking that. At 17, 3-0 Dewhawks of Loras College. Strong start. They have not conceded a goal, and I think they could conceivably go into their conference play undefeatable. So, at 16, the women's side of the Owls of Rowan University. 2-0, 2 wins. They have a big game this Sunday against Swarthmore. And I think it's going to be telling again, sort of where these teams I think end up shaking out and falling in and falling out. So at 15, 2-1-1, a team I think still plays great soccer. They have a roster full of very, very capable players that I think could help them as their season progresses. They lost to what I thought was a very, very good competitive Pacific Lutheran. Then they had, they tied against Messiah, which was then who I thought was very good. And then they beat Roanoke. So I think they're finding their way and will be growing through the season. So I think I think we'll see more of them. Okay, so at 14, the defending national champions at 2-0-1, Cal Lutheran. They have a win and a tie. Honestly, I'm not sure how to read this team yet, and so I kind of respectfully said, well, you're defending national champions. Where do I think you should be, and where can you defend your title? But I think their second half of the season is going to be brutal. So I'm going to reserve judgment, I guess, on sort of where I think. But they clearly don't have the, to use an interesting word, panache of last year. So, always flies under the radar, and I always try to tell myself they're better than I realize or probably talk about, and I'm just say this: they're 5-0 at 13, Misericordia. They have scored 17 goals and conceded 0. So, keep an eye. At 12, really like this team, 3-0. Again, just how they do it is just amazing. MIT at 12, strong start, scoring 10 while conceding 0, including a solid 4-0 win against a pretty decent Trinity team, which I wouldn't have expected. So, at number 11, 2-0-1, University of Paywall. Yes, the University of Rochester women, who, more importantly, I'll tell you, they're good, but they still have me blocked on Exeter. Look at me. I'm a nice guy. Kept them in the ranking. I could block them, but I don't. They had a tie against a very good Cortland State, who I think in the United Soccer Coaches poll that just came out yesterday or whatever, is they have them ranked nationally. But I will say, I think this team has some things going for it, as a follow-up to last year, which I thought they were really, really good. At number 10, going out to Wisconsin Lacrosse, 4-0, playing solid. I will say, I think their first real tests might be against MSOE, Milwaukee School of Engineering, this week. I think maybe today or this weekend. I'm sorry, I don't have schedules in front of me, so I'm doing this all in recollection. At number 9, Tufts University, the Jumbos at 1-1. Yes, look at that. I have a team ranked one that's 1-1. Remarkable. Tough loss to Williams. And I will say, keeping an eye on them to see how they react. They have a very tough road schedule the next couple weeks, and I think is going to determine a lot about this team. Here's another one. I'm sure I'll get it, or maybe I'll be told they should be ranked higher. Who knows? At number 8, the Falcons of Messiah. They're 0-3. You guessed it, ladies and gents. 3 ties, including against Carnegie Mellon and Johns Hopkins. You know, this is a team that can play. They have the player of the year, and they do have some goal-scoring abilities. It's just, can they pull it all together, both defensively and offensively? And they do have some, and they do play a pretty tough schedule. So, anyhow, I think they're worthy of a spot. I still think they're very good, regardless of the ties. I know. We'll see. At number 7, at 2-0-1, another team that I find really impressive and really bringing it this year is Carnegie Mellon. They had a huge away tie at Messiah, and what I think is a real solid win against William and Smith, who I think is like I said, very good, even though they're having maybe some issues this fall. At number 6, a team that I find impressive and reminds me from the Joe Russo days, College of New Jersey at 3-0. I think they're back. I think they're playing very well. They had a big win against Washington and Lee to open the season. I would say in their next big game will be against Hopkins in 10 days, and I think it might be in Baltimore. So that's going to be a humdinger of a matchup. But I think this team is very good, and at least I think in the the NJAC, not the NESCAC, the NJAC, that they'll be right up there competing for I think ultimately for the tournament, the conference tournament title. So this is an interesting one, and I'm always not sure how to rank right now because they are half a foot in, half a foot out of Division III, and so. But I'm like, well, it's soccer, so I'm just going to rank them where I think they are. Number 5, 1-0-1, Hartford. Yes, the Hawks of University of Hartford. I think they can play. I'm not sure they're as good as they were last year. Maybe they lost some talent, or maybe they're just sort of, again, rust and dust, and they're trying to get it off. But they had ties against Bowdoin and another against Montclair. Tie against, and so I do think they're very good, and they can't. I don't think they can play in the conference tournament this year, and I don't think they can play in the NCAA tournament. So take that for what it's worth. Maybe they're taking away somebody that should be ranked. I don't know, but I just think you got to recognize good ball when you see it. So, okay. So at number 4. Pomona Pitzer, another Cali team, 2-0-1. I really like this team. I like the way they play. They tied NYU before getting 2 wins, where they basically combined scored it of 6-1. So they clearly have the offensive power. So now at the top 3, number 3. And I think the United Soccer Coaches has them ranked number 1. But for me, number 3 at 3-0, Amherst. Solid wins, and including against their NESCAC rival, Connecticut College. I think there's something special about these ladies. I really do. I can't put my finger on it. Again, 3 games in, I just don't. I haven't grasped enough information on them, but I think watch out. Equally, at number 2, 3-0-1, Coach Gunderson, Christopher Newport Captains, tied the first game against Virginia Wesleyan. And again, one of the things you could say about Christopher Newport is that year in and year out, they have, defensively, they are a very good team. And so, right, they tie Virginia Wesleyan, I think it was 0-0, but they haven't conceded a goal, right, in those 4 games. I think their next opponents are Ohio Northern and Emory, and I think again, it's just how are they going to step up to those teams? And if they deliver the way they've been delivering it, they're definitely, again, this is definitely going to be a team where you're going to be like, tournament time, oh my gosh, you got to give them a nod. So anyhow, long way to go, but it'll be interesting. Which leads me to number one, which to me is, again, another undefeatable team. I don't think it's in dispute right now, especially the way I think Cal Lutheran has been playing. And I think anybody who watches is just kind of like, this is a team that is going to be throughout and should be one of the favorites. And that is the Wash U Bears. 3-0. They've scored 15 goals and have only conceded 3 against three top 100 teams. I suspect that they should be 5-0 heading into a game with Rhodes on the 14th. So that's 13, 11, 12, 13 on Saturday, I think, where that could be a competitive matchup. But I think they're good. Like, again, I think they're carrying forward what they had last year. Some key players are actually coming back, which I didn't know. So the Wash U Bears at number one. I think I'll just say overall with this, like, I'm looking at the top 25, and right now I think I'll just say this. I think you're looking at 8 or 9 teams that, again, for me, are just playing a different level game than most everybody else. And that, you can look at, I'll just say the top 10. So the top 10 to me are just sort of at a different level, more pronounced than I think I see on the men's side. So it's just going to be interesting. And like I said, week one, where you just have these games where they're shaking off the rust and dust and they're trying to figure things out, and they really haven't been playing much and training together and all that. I think I will, like I said, I do think it's going to get better, and I think this list is going to really shake itself out in the next few weeks before conference play, honestly, in a lot of cases, just because of the teams that they're playing. So with that, that is the top 25 women's teams for week one. Hope you enjoyed it. Just so you know, I will also post this that you can see in a post and in the rankings on d3soccer.fans. You will, so you can, if you don't want to hear me talk, which is fine, you could read. So you can see the ranking. And I'll try to follow up next week, again, either on Monday or Tuesday, with week 2, the rankings based on the games that happened from Monday to Sunday. And that's going to sort of be my regular cadence going forward. So with that, do me a shake. Feel free to comment below if you think I'm nuts, which, again, on the men's side, there's quite a few who seem to think that. Feel free to subscribe. Would welcome, the more the merrier, and let me know your rankings. I throw this out as an open, and I am not kidding. If you do a consistent top 25 of your own, I will gladly share this wonderful space with you and love to talk about this stuff, because none of the polls are going to give you what you exactly want unless you do your own poll. So, and I'm glad to give you a platform for it. So with that, thank you very much, and hope to see you soon. All right.